A normal guy wakes up to find a giant snake tail crushing him in his own bed, and a beautiful Lamia girl sleeping beside him calling him darling. That's just day one. Before the week is over, a harpy crash lands on his head. A sword-wielding centaur claims him as her destined master, and the government drops a bombshell that changes everything. The alarm screams 6:30, and Kimihito jolts awake to a horror no morning person deserves. A massive red snake tail is coiled around his entire body, squeezing tight, and the culprit is sleeping peacefully right next to him. Mia, his Lamia houseguest, has slithered into his bed uninvited and wrapped him up like breakfast. He whispers her name carefully. She just mumbles for 5 more minutes. Mia explains with a sleepy smirk that she's a poikilotherm, cold-blooded, and the night chill left her desperate for warmth. So naturally, she crawled into Darling's bed and used him as a personal heater. Kimihito's brain short-circuits at the casual confession, sweat dripping as her tail tightens around him. He promises to go run a hot bath for her instead. Anything to escape this grip. But escape isn't that simple. The coils squeeze harder, scales pressing against his ribs, and Kimihito realizes with growing dread that he can't even find an opening to wriggle free. His lungs start burning. Forget getting out. He's about to suffocate in his own bedroom, killed by a sleeping girl who thinks he's a body pillow. Mia keeps dreaming, completely unaware her darling is dying. Desperate, Kimihito grabs at her tail and starts squeezing back, anything to wake her up. Mia's eyes flutter open with a flushed, dazed expression, gasping that he's playing with it too roughly. The whole rescue attempt accidentally turns into something way more intimate than intended. She whimpers that she can't hold on anymore, face burning red. Kimihito just wants oxygen, not whatever this is becoming. He finally escapes and bolts straight to the bathroom to prep her hot bath, muttering about how much remodeling this house needed just for one Lamia houseguest. The toilet alone is now enormous. He pauses, genuinely curious about how she even uses it, then immediately regrets the thought. He calls out that the water's ready. Mia answers cheerfully. The morning chaos is only beginning. Mia eagerly slithers into the bathroom expecting a romantic shared soak, but Kimihito blasts her with ice-cold water from the showerhead instead. She shrieks, scales stinging, completely betrayed. He calmly informs her this house isn't a hot spring, and they bathe separately, thank you very much. She pouts that he's a meanie. He walks out soaking wet, exhausted already, and the day has barely even started for him. Back in the kitchen, Kimihito flips eggs while the TV blares about A&M 48, the world's first idol group made entirely of Asian monster subspecies. Cat girls, bunny girls, and harpies dominate the charts with their latest hit. The news anchor credits a major event from 3 years ago for making it all possible. Kimihito sighs, remembering when his life was completely normal. That peaceful version of him feels like a stranger now. 3 years ago, the cultural exchange between species bill passed, finally revealing that humanoid monster species had been hidden by governments for centuries. The world embraced peaceful coexistence, and various species began integrating into human society with surprising ease. Lamias, harpies, centaurs, all walking around openly. Kimihito grumbles that the world hasn't actually changed that much. Then he glances at the massive snake tail behind him and reconsiders. A new voice cuts in agreeing with him, and Kimihito nearly jumps out of his skin. Sitting at his table, sipping coffee like she owns the place, is Ms. Smith, the cultural exchange coordinator who dumped Mia on him in the first place. She greets him with a sharp smile. He asks what she's doing here. She announces she's checking that he isn't engaging in any prohibited matters. Smith reminds him that interspecies relationships involving the cohabitating species require strict supervision, and any incident would mean severe punishment. Kimihito snaps back, asking what kind of coordinator dumps a Lamia on a random guy and then accuses him of crimes. Smith conveniently claims her memory is failing. Mia looks down nervously, admitting she wasn't even supposed to be placed here. The whole situation was a bureaucratic accident. Smith drops the real warning. If Kimihito so much as touches Mia inappropriately, he'll be arrested on the spot. Mia will be deported back to her home country, all her hard work learning Japanese wasted forever. She sketches a dramatic mental image of a SWAT team busting into the bedroom, guns drawn. Then she casually asks if he's actually slept with her yet. He screams that he hasn't. Later that night, Mia approaches Kimihito at the dinner table looking unusually serious. She explains that Lamias are half snakes, and humans almost always recoil in fear the first time they meet one. She was terrified about how her host family would react when she arrived. But Kimihito wasn't afraid at all. Instead, he was worried about her, fussing over blankets and warmth. That kindness meant everything to her. She moves closer, blushing deeply, and tells him she wouldn't mind losing her virginity to him. Kimihito's eyes go full saucers, his brain crashing like a broken computer. She loves him, she says quietly. Darling, The moment hangs heavy in the air between them, soft and dangerous. Then he remembers Smith's warning about deportation and arrest. The most romantic confession of his life is also a legal landmine. The next morning, Smith returns to deliver one final assignment before leaving them alone. To help Mia integrate into human society properly, the host has to spend everyday time with her, take her places, support her. Kimihito asks if that isn't literally Smith's job as coordinator. She sips her coffee and says sorry, she's busy. Translation, he's on his own. The freeloader has officially delegated everything to him. Mia is overjoyed, calling it a date in society and bouncing with excitement. They head out into the city together, Mia singing about being on a date with her darling at the top of her lungs. Kimihito hisses at her to cut it out because it's embarrassing. And also, it's absolutely not a date. They're here to get her used to human society. She isn't listening at all. Mia marvels at how fun Japan actually is, having expected a stiff and formal country. Karaoke would have been amazing if her tail had fit in the booth. Most everything is built for humans, which makes life tricky for a giant snake girl. Then she spots a shop with a banner reading, "We serve all species and sizes," and yanks Kimihito toward the entrance. He has no idea what awaits him. It's a lingerie shop. Kimihito's soul leaves his body as Mia happily browses bras and panties, asking the staff what they carry for lamias. He tries to escape outside, but Smith's order to stay together echoes in his head. Mia bounces up holding two outfits and asks Darling which one looks better on her. He chokes on his own breath. This is somehow worse than the snake death grip. He cracks under pressure and screams that both look amazing and they should just buy them both. Mia gleefully agrees, then suggests he doesn't have to follow her into every single dressing room. Hope flickers across his face. Later, sitting alone outside, he notices something stuck to his hand. A small lacy garment with a strange shape. Warm and slightly sticky, his blood runs cold. Darling? He's accidentally walked out of the store carrying a pair of Mia's panties. Mia is mortified, insisting only a pervert would steal a girl's underwear. Kimihito stammers that he didn't know, didn't mean to. Please believe him. Then she softens, blushes, and adds that if he was curious, he could have just asked her to show them. Bystanders start screaming about the giant snake monster nearby. Public attention skyrockets. Back home, Mia begs Kimihito to explain why the no-touching prohibition matters so much. Getting closer and closer. He sweats bullets, trying to hold back, finally blurting that he's about to break. Then her tail accidentally crushes him with a sickening crack, dislocating his shoulder completely. Smith arrives, shaking her head, calling him quite the troublesome host. The date ends in injury, and tomorrow promises even more chaos. Mia lashes out with her tail at strangers gawking and mocking her in public, nearly smashing them flat. Kimihito dives in front and takes the hit himself, sparing the bullies the full force of her rage. Mia stares wide-eyed, asking why he jumped in front of her tail. Smith appears with a grim warning. The law forbids non-humans from harming humans, no matter how cruel those humans were. Smith explains that Mia's species catches the worst of public distrust because Lamias look so different from humans. If Mia ever attacks someone out of anger, she'll be deported back home immediately, no exceptions. Smith softly tells Kimihito to take good care of her, calling him darling with a teasing smirk. Mia overhears every word from the doorway. Her face crumples with worry over what almost happened. Earlier that same day, the trouble had started when strangers began snapping photos of Mia like she was a zoo animal. Kimihito stepped in and demanded they stop taking pictures without permission. Mia grew uncomfortable under all the staring eyes and asked if they could go somewhere private together. Kimihito hesitated. Karaoke booths were too cramped for her tail, and home was too far. They needed an option fast. They ended up ducking into a love hotel just to escape the crowd. Mia innocently enjoyed the bath and asked what people normally did in these rooms. Kimihito choked on air, trying not to explain. Then she found a condom on the nightstand and held it up curiously, asking what it was. He screamed at her to just leave it alone. The poor guy was a sweating wreck. Suddenly, the door exploded open and the Cultural Exchange Security Squad stormed in with guns drawn. Their commander barked that they'd received a tip about a human male dragging a lamia inside for lewd purposes. Kimihito froze in horror, realizing how impossibly bad this looked. Mia clung to him completely terrified. The whole situation was a misunderstanding spiraling toward arrest. The bullies from earlier had reported them out of pure spite. Smith arrived just in time and smoothed everything over with the squad, saving Kimihito from prison. Sitting on the hotel bed afterward, Mia stared at the floor and quietly asked something heartbreaking. Maybe humans only treated her kindly because the law forced them to. Maybe even Kimihito only acted nice to avoid getting arrested. Her voice trembled with the question. Kimihito's heart sank watching her doubt everything. Smith offered them a ride home, but Mia stayed silent the entire trip, lost in dark thoughts. Back at the house, Mia finally asked Kimihito why he jumped in front of her tail earlier. He scratched his head and gave her the truth. She looked ready to knock those guys out in one strike, and since hitting them would have been illegal for her, he took the punishment instead. He didn't want her deported. Smith confirmed his shoulder was just dislocated, no serious damage, and that she'd already settled the lawsuit out of court. Kimihito waved her off with thanks. Then Smith turned with a sly grin and asked about the injury on his face. He instantly lied and said he just fell down. The real story stayed buried. Whatever happened to his face was a secret he wasn't ready to share with anyone yet. Days later, Mia hummed cheerfully while hanging laundry on the balcony, in the brightest mood Kimihito had seen in ages. He asked what made her so happy. She blushed and said it was because he'd been so cool yesterday, protecting her like that. She declared she wouldn't forgive anyone who hurt her darling. Then she added something sweet. Next time, she wanted to be the one protecting him. Suddenly, something massive crashed down onto Kimihito from the sky with a thunderous boom. Mia screamed in panic. When the dust cleared, a strange new girl with enormous wings and bird talons was sitting on top of him, completely dazed. She was a harpy, and she had no idea where she was or how she got there. Kimihito's peaceful morning had just exploded into yet another monster girl emergency. The harpy woke up confused on a park bench with Kimihito beside her. She introduced herself as Poppy and cheerfully explained that she'd flown off from her host family because remembering rules was too hard. 3 steps, and she'd already forgotten Kimihito's name. The poor guy realized she had the attention span of a goldfish. She was technically breaking the law by being out alone, and now she was his problem. Kimihito tried to explain she couldn't just abandon her host family, but Poppy got distracted by an ice cream truck and demanded food immediately. He bought her a soft serve cone, hoping bribery would calm her down. Poppy explained that the next time she ran off, the authorities threatened to deflower her as punishment. Kimihito froze, realizing she meant deport. He told her she was in serious trouble. Poppy struggled hilariously to hold the ice cream cone with her wing hands, dropping it on the ground and wailing that she didn't even get a single bite. Kimihito sighed and offered her some of his own. She perked up instantly, completely forgetting her tears. He thought to himself that she really was a total bird brain. But there was something charmingly innocent about her, almost impossible to stay annoyed at her for long. Just then Mia appeared, having tracked Kimihito down, and she was furious. Kimihito tried to explain the situation calmly, telling her Poppy was lost and harmless. Mia wasn't buying any of it. She shouted that Poppy had stolen her darling first, and now this. Poppy just blinked, completely confused about why this snake girl was so mad. The romantic tension had ignited into full-blown jealousy. A turf war had officially begun. Poppy snapped and called Mia a bird brain right back, sparking instant chaos. Mia's tail whipped around aggressively, scales rustling like a warning rattle. She accused Poppy of being unfair for swooping in and getting cozy with her darling. Kimihito stood between them, sweating bullets, trying to keep both monster girls from killing each other in broad daylight. His shoulder still ached from the last incident. He really needed a vacation. Back home, Kimihito tried to negotiate peace by feeding Poppy a popsicle, but the angle quickly turned suggestive in the worst possible way. Poppy happily licked away while Kimihito turned beet red, muttering that it looked rather inappropriate. Mia watched from the corner with murderous eyes. Every innocent thing Poppy did somehow looked scandalous. Kimihito desperately wished his life could go back to normal for even one single afternoon. That evening, things finally calmed down and Kimihito tried apologizing to Mia for the whole mess. He admitted he hadn't meant for any of it to happen, that Poppy just literally fell on him. Mia softened, blushing again, accepting his explanation reluctantly. They were finally getting along again, the tension melting between them. Kimihito felt himself relax for the first time in days. The peace lasted exactly 5 seconds. The front door slammed open and Ms. Smith waltzed inside uninvited, asking what was for dinner tonight. Kimihito and Mia both yelled in unison, demanding to know what she was doing here. Smith said she figured she'd let them treat her since she was hungry. She had zero shame about freeloading. Their good mood evaporated instantly. The freeloader coordinator had once again ruined the perfect romantic moment with her perfect comedic timing. Smith casually announced they were having curry tonight and invited herself to stay. Mia groaned in despair. Then Smith remembered something important and pulled a small object from her pocket. She held it up with a wicked grin. It was the condom from the Love Hotel that Mia had accidentally walked off with. Mia screamed in mortified horror. Kimihito's soul left his body, and the chaos of monster girl life rolled on. Mia slithers up a massive tree, determined to rescue a little girl stuck high in the branches, eager to prove to Darling how cool she can be. She climbs effortlessly up the trunk, leaves rustling everywhere. But when she finally parts the branches and peeks through, the terrified girl sees only glowing snake eyes and fangs peering out of the foliage. The child shrieks and calls her a ghost. Mia's heroic moment instantly backfires. Eventually, Kimihito helps coax the girl down safely, and the gathered crowd applauds Mia for her brave effort. A police officer arrives way too late and salutes them for a job well done. Mia pouts that she tried so hard to look cool, but ended up traumatizing a child instead. Kimihito pats her head gently and tells her he knows she did her best. Her tail droops in exhausted defeat. Just then, Poppy the Harpy swoops down alongside them, and suddenly a stern voice calls out asking where the girl's host family is. Kimihito panics and blurts that he's Poppy's host too. The officer politely asks to see his certification papers to confirm it. Kimihito's stomach drops because he has no such papers for Poppy. He's not actually her official host. The lie just dug him a legal grave. Then out of nowhere, a familiar voice saves him. Ms. Smith steps in and produces Poppy's certification instantly, flashing it at the officer. The whole problem evaporates in seconds. Mia stares at her in shock, asking how she pulled that off. Smith just smirks mysteriously. Back at the house, Kimihito demands an explanation. Smith reveals the truth with a casual sip of tea. She had the certification ready the whole time. Smith confesses that Poppy is a chronic runaway, and no other host family was willing to put up with her flying off constantly. So Smith was literally on her way to force Kimihito to take her in anyway. The whole tree rescue just made it official faster. Kimihito realizes he's been played completely. Mia shouts in disbelief. Poppy bounces happily, thrilled about her new home. The household just gained another monster girl resident. Smith declares Poppy is officially welcome, ignoring Mia's furious objections. Mia demands to know if it's really a good idea to have both of them under the same roof. Smith shrugs and says it'll be fine. Kimihito is now legally the master of two monster girls who cannot stand each other. Poppy cheerfully promises not to fly away again. The chaos has doubled overnight. His peaceful life continues its freefall. Surprisingly, Mia seems oddly calm about the whole arrangement later, even telling Kimihito to have fun taking a bath with Poppy if he wants. Kimihito asks why she isn't furious. Mia smiles sweetly, explaining that Poppy is just a child, and an adult like herself can control her emotions. She repeats that Poppy is a child multiple times with too much emphasis. Smith watches from the couch sipping tea, clearly amused. Smith decides to light the fuse anyway, casually mentioning that Poppy is actually the same age as Mia. Her petite body is just built for flying. Mia's face contorts in absolute horror as her entire argument collapses. The revelation hits her like a truck. Her rival isn't a harmless child at all, but a genuine romantic competitor. The truce is over before it even began. War has been officially declared. Early the next morning, Kimihito trudges home from the supermarket loaded with grocery bags, exhausted. Feeding Mia and Poppy is draining his wallet fast. He had to wake up before dawn to shop while the two of them snuggled him in their sleep. Poppy wrapped around him like a warm blanket. Mia coiled on his other side. He barely escaped alive. The neighborhood even has a purse-snatching warning sign out. As he walks down the quiet street, a loud galloping noise grows behind him. Before he can turn around, something massive crashes into him at full speed and sends him flying. A beautiful blonde woman with the lower body of a horse stands over him triumphantly. She declares that fate has brought them together. She introduces herself as Centaurea Shianus of the proud centaur race, and he is apparently her destined master. She insists this is fate based on some old Japanese manga charm about bumping into your soulmate at an intersection. Kimihito wheezes that getting hit by a centaur isn't fate. It's a traffic accident that nearly killed him. Centaurea mourns that maybe she should have brought toast in her mouth instead. Kimihito stares in disbelief. She's taken every romantic manga cliché completely literally, and she clearly needs better sources for her cultural research. Kimihito calls Smith to ask what the hell is going on. Smith groggily explains that centaurs have a tradition of searching for a master to pledge their lives to, almost like marriage. Apparently, Centaurea got special permission to go out alone on her quest. Smith lazily asks if he could just take care of her too. Kimihito screams into the phone. She's already lounging in her underwear, blowing him off for the day. Smith drops a devastating fact before hanging up. Centaurs have a strict rule that only a master they've pledged their life to can ride upon their back. If he forced her to carry him, it would be just like sexual assault in their culture. Mia overhears every word from the doorway, her own yakisoba slipping from her hand in horror. She runs to apologize to Centaurea in a panic. She had no idea the rule existed. Meanwhile, Centaurea charges after a purse snatcher on a motorcycle, sword drawn, screaming that she'll have him taste her blade. Kimihito gets dragged along helplessly across her back, yelling at her to slow down first. The motorcycle thief recognizes the horse girl from earlier and taunts her, gunning his engine. Centaurea refuses to let him escape. Kimihito clings for dear life, accidentally grabbing soft places he shouldn't. This chase is a disaster. Centaurea stumbles from the sensitive contact and crashes to a stop, blushing furiously and mumbling that Japanese magic charms must not work as well as she thought. Kimihito is confused out of his mind. She insists she's not a horse and he's not her master, demanding he cease his rude activity at once. Yet she still wants him to accompany her to catch the thief. Her own rules make zero sense to him. Centaurea raises her sword dramatically and vows to capture the horsen, but confesses that interspecies law forbids her from directly attacking a human. That's why she needs a master to fight alongside her, the whole reason she was searching in the first place. Kimihito reluctantly agrees to climb on her back since the motorcycle is still fleeing. She blushes crimson and insists he not touch any of her soft parts this time. The chase ends in chaos as the thief crashes and gets arrested. Back at Kimihito's house, he calls Smith to report what happened. His sword injuries turn out to be from a fake blade, thankfully. Smith reveals they wouldn't let Centaurea walk around with a real weapon. Mia hovers nervously nearby, convinced Centaurea is furious about everything. Kimihito can feel the tension radiating through the walls. Another romantic disaster brewing. Mia apologizes profusely to Centaurea for letting Darling ride on her back without knowing it was practically a marriage vow. Centaurea softens, realizing Mia truly didn't mean any harm. But the centaur still carries the weight of cultural shame. She asks to speak with Kimihito privately afterward. Mia watches them go with worried eyes. Whatever Centaurea wants to say next, it's going to change everything. The air crackles with meaning. Centaurea tells Kimihito to just call her Soraya, the name her close friends use. She apologizes sincerely for getting him injured because of her own selfish notion of justice. She feels terrible for involving him at all. Kimihito smiles gently and tells her not to worry about it, since he never said he didn't want to help. Soraya's eyes light up. His kindness just broke through her armor completely. She's falling fast. Soraya declares that this is the first time in her entire life a man has ever protected her with his body. She kneels beside him with fierce conviction in her eyes and swears her eternal fealty as his loyal servant. She asks Kimihito to please accept her vow. His face goes bright red as he realizes what's happening. Another monster girl has officially claimed him as her own. His harem just grew by one. Suddenly the door slams open and Mia charges in shrieking that Darling brought another woman home. Poppy follows right behind, whining that she's hungry. Kimihito sighs, realizing his life will never be peaceful again. Teria stands tall and declares that from now on, things shall be different in this household. She will regard her master with the highest esteem and care. Kimihito just wants someone, anyone, to finally help with the housework. Reading order: 14 to 13 to 12 to 11 to 10 to 9 to 8 to 7 to 6 to 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1. Mia decides it's finally time to lay down the law in the household. She gathers Poppy and Soraya together and teaches them the 3 sacred rules of the interspecies exchange program. Don't harm humans, stay with your host family, and most importantly, the first monster girl to move in gets total seniority. Teria immediately calls out that Mia is inventing fake rules. Mia scribbles childish illustrations on a whiteboard looking smug. Poppy just stares blankly, confused. Soraya insists she already knows every actual rule from the program and doesn't need Mia's lecture. Kimihito walks in holding his phone, announcing that Smith says Soraya needs to fill out the official homestay application. Soraya panics because she technically hasn't been properly registered yet. She begs him not to tell anyone until it's sorted. Mia seizes the opportunity to assert dominance. She reminds Soraya that as the original resident, she calls the shots here. While Kimihito tries to study the interspecies law book alone, Poppy flies over and begs him to swim together. The legal text is too dense and boring anyway. Soraya charges in immediately, horrified at the thought of her master bathing with another girl. Mia follows right behind, shouting that she's taken a bath with Darling before, ignoring that she also shamelessly groped him. The 3-way jealousy war is reaching nuclear levels. Kimihito just wants peace. Poppy cheerfully tells Kimihito that if she had an older brother, she'd want him to be exactly like him. The way he plays with her, scolds her gently, praises her, and buys her ice cream feels like having a real sibling. Kimihito melts a little at her sweet confession. She grew up surrounded only by girls and never had a brother figure. It's almost touching. Then she adds one innocent request that shatters the moment completely. Poppy suggests they get along like a real brother and sister from now on, and Kimihito agrees. But then she pounces on him asking to touch her chest again, because it made her heart skip a beat earlier. Kimihito screams that siblings absolutely do not do that. Poppy doesn't understand why, and declares she'll just use force to make him do it. The innocent bird girl has weaponized her own cluelessness. There's no defense against this. Meanwhile, Saraya bursts in mid-chaos, furious that Poppy is hogging Darling. She declares that protecting her master is her sacred duty as his servant. She orders Poppy to put her down so she can handle the situation with dignity. Poppy immediately drops her flat on the floor. Saraya groans that she didn't say to drop her. The centaur's dignified night routine collapses instantly. This really is not her lucky day. Saraya realizes Mia is watching them from the doorway, and the whole scene looks disastrously incriminating. Mia's eyes glow with pure murder. Saraya tries to explain that it's not what it looks like, stuttering through an obvious lie. She was supposed to fill out her homestay application while Smith was on her way over. Instead, she ran straight toward Darling at the park. Her composure is gone. Her whole nightly code is falling apart in real time. Saraya dramatically explains that centaurs are valiant knights who value loyalty above all else, invoking her father and grandfather who lived by the same code. Before she is a woman, she is a knight sworn to her master. Kimihito tries to interject that she doesn't really serve him. Saraya shouts at him not to say that. Her conviction is unshakable. She accidentally flexes her massive chest while arguing, distracting everyone completely. Kimihito and Saraya end up alone in the park together, while Smith handles the paperwork. Saraya suddenly looks down shyly and whispers that she has a request. She wants to try holding hands. Just once. The only things she's ever held in her hands have been weapons, swords, and bows. She thought if she were a normal human girl, she'd do things like that. Kimihito's heart melts at her quiet vulnerability. It's impossibly sweet. But before anything romantic can happen, Poppy suddenly swoops in and snatches Kimihito away mid-air, flying off with him in her talons. Saraya is left standing alone in shock. Poppy gleefully declares that she'll take her husband while she still can. The moment is completely shattered. Mia appears next, demanding what Saraya thought she was doing with her darling. The three girls collide in a screaming mid-air disaster. Smith watches from afar, exhausted. Mia shouts at the stupid horsewoman for stealing her darling away just to make out with him. Saraya insists that foul-mouthed snake woman has no right to speak about her that way. Poppy just clings to Kimihito's chest happily through the chaos. Saraya complains about feathered hands all over him. Smith finally steps in with a tranquilizer gun and fires 3 shots. Kimihito catches all 3 accidentally and collapses. His world goes dark. He wakes up on the couch with Smith casually explaining that they were just tranquilizer darts. She apologizes for knocking him out, then begs him not to tell anyone because she'd get in serious trouble. The girls are suspiciously quiet now. Smith realizes they're hiding behind the door, eavesdropping on everything. Their faces peek out with guilty expressions. Something has clearly shifted between the 3 of them. They look genuinely remorseful for once. The 3 girls approach Kimihito together, shoulders slumped with shame. Saraya calls herself a failure of a servant. Poppy apologizes to her husband for getting him hurt in their fighting. Mia admits that all the chaos was their fault. Then Saraya announces their solution with fierce determination. They have all decided to hold themselves back from now on, to stop causing him trouble. They won't fight over him anymore. The war is officially over. Poppy promises not to ask him to play with her anymore. Saraya vows not to use her bow carelessly. Kimihito stares at them in disbelief at this sudden emotional shift. Then he says something that catches them completely off guard. He tells them they shouldn't hold back at all. Since they're living together in a homestay, they're practically a family. And because they're a family, they should never have to hold themselves back from being themselves. The 3 girls blush deeply, tears threatening to spill over. Smith watches the whole scene from the side, smiling behind her teacup. She mutters about how Kimihito was right to handle this all himself. She reveals that a new article has been introduced to the Interspecies Exchange Program that actually allows interspecies marriage. They've been looking for a test case. Kimihito's blood runs cold. His face drains of all color instantly. Marriage? Smith grins wickedly and confirms she was going to ask him to volunteer as the test case, right here and right now. Kimihito screams what, in pure horror. The 3 monster girls stare at him with new, hungry eyes. Marriage is suddenly on the table as a real possibility. His ordinary life is officially over forever. The harem just leveled up into something far more dangerous, and Smith sits back, endlessly amused by the chaos.